Welcome to the School of Self-Worth Live, ladies and gentlemen. Today's topic is loneliness and self-worth, and it is an absolute pleasure to introduce to you a famous psychologist, in my opinion, famous psychologist, Vassia Sarantopoulou, all the way from the Netherlands. Vassia, good morning. How are you today?
Hi, I'm so honored that I'm here as well and have the opportunity to talk with you. I'm doing fine. I'm here in the rainy and gray Netherlands, and for us it's afternoon time. But yeah, that what happened with international calls and having people connecting with them from all over the world. So originally I come from Greece,
Ah,
so which is way sunnier than this.
now I pronounced your last name correctly because it's
Yes.
quite a unique, I think it's a beautiful name. I love people's names, and yours really stands out. Now, Sarantopolo.
Yeah.
Now, I've been practicing this for about a few weeks. And actually, I'll tell you something. I remember dreaming that I was practicing saying your name last night
No,
because
really?
I really wanted to get it right, and I think it's a beautiful name. So, but it's a pleasure to have you on the call, Vassia.
Mine as well.
All right, so we're going to talk about loneliness and self-worth. So if
Yes.
you're watching this, please type your questions and maybe Vassia can answer them for you, or we will be able to respond to your questions a little later on if you're watching the replay. Vassia, my first question for you, I want you to maybe tell me a little story about how you got into or how you became interested in focusing on loneliness and helping people with that.
Um, I don't really know the exact moment that I came with this idea. I think it was a combination of a lot of factors. So I named my company Anti Loneliness. So that was the moment that I started talking a lot about loneliness. And it was when I was already an expert in the Netherlands. So that's factor one. I was an expert. I am still an expert. I am experiencing, of course, a normal degree of loneliness because I don't have my family, I don't have my friends here. So that was already something that I was experiencing. Another factor was that the fact that I'm a psychologist, I get to see inside people's psyche. We get to talk about things that they don't talk with anybody else about that. So what I noticed was that irrelevant of whatever was the symptom that they were experiencing, whatever was the issue that they were experiencing in their life, there was all the time, always some degree of loneliness. Either they had problems with their spouse, their partner, or they had depression and anxiety, or they were experiencing burnout. Whatever was the issue, there was also an accompanying feeling of loneliness. And that was something like I came with this eye bulb moment. Actually, nobody escapes loneliness. Everybody, the healthiest person in the world will go through loneliness. We cannot escape that. That's something that happens to everybody.
Yeah.
So for me, that was a moment like, okay, we need to talk about the elephant in the room. We need to talk about loneliness because usually we don't hear people talking about loneliness, right? We talk about
Mhm.
all the rest, but nobody says, let's talk about our loneliness. I feel lonely. And it was a little bit like it's still like a stigma. Like if you say I'm
Yeah,
lonely,
yeah, it is.
we believe that people will be like, well, what's wrong with you?
There's
Why?
something wrong with you if you
Yeah,
feel lonely and if you admit it. Yeah.
yeah. And usually the most common response is, come on, go out,
Yeah.
have some friends, meet people. Why? Why not?
Like it's an easy fix. Like, oh, if you're lonely, yeah, just go and do these things. But I've noticed because I experience loneliness as well.
Yeah,
I'm humbled to admit it that, yeah, there are times where I'll just come home from a night of being out with a lot of people,
yeah,
and then you come home and it's quiet and it's just you.
yeah.
And I'm a pretty social guy, but I can still have those moments of like, whoa, I just feel this intense feeling of loneliness. And even in the past, I've had moments where it can really get me down, even though
Absolutely.
I'm a social guy.
Of course, because that's different than solitude. That's different than being alone. It's another thing feeling lonely, and it's another thing being alone. So you can be in a room surrounded with people and still feel
And
lonely.
still feel it. Yeah.
You can be lying next to your wife or to your husband and still feel lonely. And at the same time, you can be all alone in the room and have zero feelings of loneliness and feeling really connected with yourself, with the world, with everybody. So it's not if you are alone, then you're feeling lonely. It has nothing to do with that.
Yeah, I totally get what you're saying. And so you got into wanting to study loneliness and also help people around this topic because no one was really addressing it.
Yeah, yeah.
And what are some of the experiences, or I guess people are really happy to know that they can talk to someone about their loneliness?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And it was something that I also observed in the beginning of my company, the first few years, and nobody would contact me saying, I want to talk about my loneliness. They would contact me and they would want to speak about the usual things that I am addressing in the therapy room, which is depression, anxiety, and burnout, and relationship issues, and divorce, and breakup, and grief. So they wouldn't name loneliness in there.
Mm,
So it was nice, and you understand what I mean with
yeah.
nice, when I saw the change and people would write an email to me and say, I'm lonely and I want to talk about that. Yes. We're
Yes.
talking about that. We don't feel scared. We don't feel stigmatized. That was like a victorious moment. Like,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
I
And
think that's fantastic. Keep going.
yeah.
Keep going.
And since then, I've been seeing a lot of articles, a lot of companies, not since then, because I started. I mean, during the last few years, there was a lot of this tsunami wave that started. Everybody started talking about loneliness, including me. I didn't say that I started.
Hmm.
I was part of this tsunami. And I also read about the Ministry of Loneliness in the UK, even. And people were talking about the elephant in the room, finally. And it was not something that we are talking only because it's related with elderly people. No, it also changed perspective. We're talking about everybody. Loneliness in single parents, loneliness in teenagers, loneliness in people that they're breaking up, loneliness in expats. Let's talk about all kinds of loneliness.
Yeah. You know what? I get the same thing talking about self-worth with people, and not many people want to admit that they
Yeah.
have low self-worth or low confidence. But
Yeah.
now that I've been doing this for a year, I'm starting to get people messaging me and say, "Can I talk to you about it?" And they've been following me for a year, and it's like, wow, why did it take them so long to reach out? And I guess the same thing is with loneliness because of the stigma. It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
you feel like you are worthless if you
Yeah.
admit that you are lonely or you have low self-worth.
Indeed, indeed. And also sometimes human beings believe that if you start talking about something that hurts, it will be like opening Pandora's box.
Yeah.
More will come out of it. So it's better if you don't talk about it. Let's pretend it's not there.
Which is
This
not
is
a good thing to do.
in
Bottle it up.
the of course in the short term it's good because you get this temporary relief, but in the long run, of course, it's still there.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, that is that's really insightful what you've just talked about, how, people are, afraid to admit it, but the positive thing is that it's starting to be addressed in the social realm, in the conversation, and that's fantastic. And I think even doing just this live stream is going to be helping people out there to go and talk to someone like yourself about their loneliness. By the way, I wanted to ask you the name of your company and where people can contact you. Please mention that right away.
Anti-loneliness, and my website is antiloneliness.com.
Beautiful. All right.
Anti-loneliness.
Got it. Ladies and gentlemen, we are talking to Vassia Sarantopoulou, who's in the Netherlands. And Vassia, we're going to move on now to a different topic, or just adjust a little bit here and try and talk about the connection between loneliness and self-worth, in your opinion.
So as I said before, there's a normal part of loneliness. We will all feel lonely at some point in our life, because change. And this is normal. However, there's the possibility that we will fall into the trap of loneliness, which is our fear of getting out there and connecting with other people will keep us back, will keep us still isolated from other people. During this period, we start building a more negative self-talk. This is where we start saying, other people have friends. If I don't have friends, probably there's something wrong with me. And then we start, with this downward spiral. We'll start thinking that maybe it's something wrong with us, or maybe we deserve it, or maybe we're not lovable, or we're not smart enough. I had clients in my therapy sessions, and they were saying, yeah, but I see other people are smart. How can I say something? I'm not that smart. So we start comparing ourselves. Fear, comparisons, negative self-talk, they keep accumulating. So being in this space for a long time, space where we doubt about ourselves, we keep on ruminating on this negative self-talk, eventually it will affect our self-worth. Eventually we will believe that we are not worthy to be loved, to be connected, to be liked, to be included, to belong in another group. So you see how loneliness brings more negative self-talk, lower self-worth, and then more loneliness. So it's like a vicious circle, and it comes back all the time.
Yeah. I'm often thinking of there must be so many people out there who feel lonely.
Yeah.
I don't know what the number is, but I'd say that almost everyone experiences a little bit of loneliness sometimes, right? And that one little thing can affect their self-worth so much. And I want to ask you, have you got a positive story, or a story from a client who got it, about how they could overcome their self-worth issues or their loneliness?
Yeah. So I have in mind a lady that she was struggling in her whole life with this feeling of loneliness. There are some people that they never felt that they belong. So this is something not circumstantial, not something that happened because they moved to a new country. It was, this feeling belonged to them already for many, many years. So she was struggling with that. So she was an expert as well. So I met her a couple of years ago when we were doing therapy for some time. So one of the things that we were addressing was this innate feeling of loneliness that she had. And what we wanted to do is to avoid accumulating more loneliness because of the circumstances, aka because she was an expat, because she didn't have her friends, because she didn't have her family here, or because she would go into this negative loophole and she would start blaming herself and feeling that she's not worthy. So we focused more on what is the message that this lonely feeling was bearing. As I said before, and I'm going to say that again, loneliness is a normal feeling. Loneliness is absolutely normal. We will all experience this. So the first thing that we're doing is normalizing loneliness. So when we are normalizing loneliness, then we are more prepared to embrace it and do something about it.
Yeah.
If we don't normalize it, it's more possible that we give up and we say, well, there's something wrong with me, so what can you do about that? Let's wait, until time passes and then I'm done with this life.
Yeah.
So she embraced that, she understood, and she got the message. And the message is, I miss connections. And that's what I'm going to try to bring into my life. I know that there's a part inside me that will always feel lonely or different, not weird, different. But at the same time, there's somebody out there that belongs to my tribe. There's somebody out there, I don't know, but I'm going to try to find this person. So this is when she started feeling hopeful, and she connected more with the need, which is the need for connection, than with the pain of loneliness.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't need to give her, like a cookbook. You have to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps. Go to meetups or go to a bar or whatever. When she connected with that, then she started doing things. So she even reached out to a website, I think, which was with people that they wanted to meet friends. Tinder, but with friends.
Yeah.
Not for dating. So she reached out there, and the magic was that she was prepared even for rejection. She knew that there would be people there that would not be a good match for her, or she would reach out to somebody and then they wouldn't reply. She was prepared for all this. And indeed it happened. She didn't have success from first day. But then eventually she found a person that they created a fantastic connection. She couldn't have imagined that. It's like of these stories that you hear or you see in the movies or Hollywood movies, and you are like, come on, this is Hollywood. It doesn't happen. But it happened to her. And she created connection, and she didn't go into feeling nostalgic about the relationships and connections that she didn't have anymore, or about the fact that she would never find somebody because she has been always feeling lonely. No, she connected with the need. I need connection and I'm going to get it no matter what. I'm going to try for that, because the antidote to loneliness is connection, meaningful connection.
Beautiful. Vassia Sarantopoulou, ladies and gentlemen, from the Netherlands, psychologist. If you are watching, welcome. Please put your comments into the chat box. Vassia, last question. I want to ask you about a strategy that you recommend to people who are experiencing loneliness.
Okay. So I usually put 3 tools together as one on a cognitive level, one on an emotional level, and one on a practical level. So on an emotional level, one thing is that we need to create a space inside us to accept loneliness. It's a lovely feeling. It's a lovely and a painful feeling as well. I get it. But it's something that belongs to us. It's supposed to be felt by human beings. So it's okay. And usually feelings are temporary. They're there as a guest for a couple of hours or days, and then they're gone. So the emotional tip is just welcome your guest, welcome this feeling, stay with your loneliness, listen to the message. What is it that is missing in your life? Listen to what this feeling is telling you. Maybe have a good cry and allow it to be there. On a cognitive level, try to observe what is the negative self-talk that you're saying to yourself, because this is what makes turns the pain into suffering. Loneliness is painful, but when we add the negative self-talk, we suffer because we feel that there's something wrong with us. We are weird. We are difficult people. We will never find anybody. We will die alone. This is all the negative talk. So try to observe it, notice it, and if possible, if you can do it by yourself, stop it. Stop this negative self-talk, or reverse it even. Make it into healthy self-talk about what it is about you. There's nothing unlovable about you. There's nothing about you that doesn't deserve love, but it doesn't mean that you will always have friends. Right now, you don't. Yeah. And the third practical tip is reach out to people, but not just any people. You don't need to go out to the bar and collect 100 Facebook accounts, or subscribe to any possible groups, whatever, so that you can have the illusion of connection. Go to groups of people that you think that they share the same values with you or the same interests with you, so that the connection will be facilitated in the beginning. Otherwise, you're just, again, chasing something that you cannot have. Go to people that they have the same passion with you. Like, we are in the same group with entrepreneurs that they are building their own businesses, and the connection that we have is amazing.
Yeah.
So it can be something business related, work related, or it can be hobby related. But the moment that we get in the room with somebody who at least has one thing in common, then we can start talking. Then we feel more safe.
Vassia, I want to thank you so much for your wisdom and for being a guest on the School of Self-Worth Live and sharing beautiful stories and strategies with people.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the invitation. I really enjoy talking to you.
And can you please mention your website again so that people can contact you?
Yes, antiloneliness.com. It's also pronounced antiloneliness.com if it's easier.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Vassia Sarantopoulou, psychologist from the Netherlands, loneliness specialist and expert, and in my opinion, quite famous and an incredible person. So we're going to say goodbye, and I hope that you've got some questions for Vassia. Please reach out, and remember, if you're feeling lonely, that there is plenty of people out there who want to help you, and you can be feeling fantastic. You can connect with people. So thank you again, Vassia.
And connect with yourself.
Yeah. All right, well, we're going to say goodbye, everybody. Have a
Thank
wonderful
you.
day.